Hello everyone, Suffolk Hobbit, and I thought I would do something that I haven't done for a long time, which is a vlog, video blog, log, vlog. I've done many, and I still don't know actually how you pronounce it. It's a vlog, isn't it? It is a vlog. Anyway, so among the many projects I have on the go, thoughts in my head, and everything else that is possibly miniature based and any sort of possible scenario that I can ever think of for creation and doing things and whatnot. One that's been on, one of many that's been on the top of the list is a Dunlending army. I've wanted one for a very long time, purely because they're Vikings in Middle Earth. Let's face it, that's what they are. If only they were slightly sized, proportionate, their proportions are slightly different. You could have them in games of Saga, everything. They're wicked miniatures. Off on a tangent there. So a few years back, as we all know, the Dunlending sort of become a bit OOP, a bit sparse, a bit scarce. You could get the Axeman versions, I believe, 2 in the blister pack, maybe 3, if that, and you could get Thryden. That was basically it. You couldn't really get anything else. The captains were gone, the banners were gone, I think the archers were gone. I think it was very limited amount of stuff that you could actually get. Anyway, as we all know, quite a few years down the line, luckily, it all come back. When they first re-released a lot of the models back in, I want to say December 2018 is when they started to bring a lot back. Arnor, sadly gone again now, but Arnor was brought back. Apologies, I can't pronounce today. Too much sun. Corsairs, all that lot. I believe the Dunlendings were part of that. They might have come slightly later, maybe. I think they did actually. But anyway, it's all part of this awesome wave of stuff. And so I thought, finally, I've got the chance to do what I want to do. And ironically, I say ironically, I'm not sure. It depends how much you follow me on this. But I want to make my Dunlending's army possibly one of the biggest Middle-earth armies I have. Glancing across at my display cabinets, I'd say the biggest army I have currently of Middle-earthy goodness is maybe my Angmar army, or, well, most likely my Arnor army is probably the biggest that I have so far. A lot of them around the sort of 500 points mark-ish, but Arnor I think sort of takes the lead slightly. Angmar maybe on a par, maybe even slightly more, just because about cave trolls and all the other stuff I've got. So anyway, Dunlendings I want as the biggest army I have. And that's just because I want to use them in my head. I want to use them to fight multiple enemies. Just because I can picture them, I'm going sort of off on a tangent, sorry, from the real lore of Middle-earth, but I can picture them as being, they're really wanting to reclaim what they've lost from the Rohirrim. And I want them to do some epic battles with my friends and things, and I want to have like a massive clash of like maybe 2 different Rohan armies, or a Rohan army and an elf army. Just I just want a real big epic battle. Something that obviously didn't happen in Middle Earth. Well, maybe apart from the Battle of the Hornburg, but I want in my games to have an epic battle. So that's why I've got it in my head to make a huge Dunlending army. And also I kind of want a huge army challenge from t-shirt's annoying me, from Middle Earth. I've got big 40k armies, I've got many large armies, but I want the Middle Earth army for me as a big one to be the Dunlendings. And I think because luckily some of their models are quite cheap points wise, the Wild Men being the perfect example, I should be able to pull that off. So, after going on a complete tangent there, I was very lucky. I got loads of stuff bought for Christmas for me. I was very lucky. I bought a few bits for myself, but it was made for my wife, for my family and friends and things. Bought me some awesome stuff, and within that awesome stuff was Lord of the Rings, and namely Dunlending stuff. And I've only just recently got round to actually working on it, just because of the usual stuff, and what with all of this COVID-19 rubbish going about, where I work, we've had to split our shifts. So I'm working morning shifts and afternoon shifts because of, I work in healthcare, so distribution. So we're still being, required to work to help everything out. But because of that, it's been a blessing in disguise in a modelling sense of the word, because I have had a lot more free time to do stuff, and I've used that to my advantage to really work on my models. So I've managed to get the first warband done in a reasonable time, and I've managed to paint Thryden on foot, which I've used as a bit of a motivation, because what I've done is I've used him to enter into the East Anglian Hobbit community club thing, on their Facebook page, to do a photo competition. If the model you paint wins, it gets to be in the month's thing. I'm not expecting to win it, but I thought I'd use it as a good motivation to paint him up. So I've got him painted the warband, like I say, and I'm currently just about now to start work on some of the awesome Forge World mounted Dunlending warriors, which are absolutely brilliant, really good models. My army plan is to have 6 for now, going on to 12. Warbands wise, I'm going to probably have 3 standard warrior Dunlending units about warbands, and obviously that's going to be bolstered by the Wildmen, and then finally I'm going to have a lot of the Huskarls to work with Thryden. I'm kind of thinking I'm going to have to play the game a lot to make this work, to get it in my head to think how it's going to work. But I'm thinking there's no such thing as a mounted Huskarl. I don't think there is. Don't quote me on it, but I don't think there is. So it might be worth having Thryden with horsemen. So when they're charging in, because horsemen get to re-roll their attacks on the attack of the horse, I believe. And obviously Thryden mounted, he's going to get an extra attack with his charging. Obviously the Huskarls are brilliant, but they're not mounted. So I'm not sure if it would hinder Thryden, maybe, if he's just stuck with the Huskarls, which obviously his bodyguards, official bodyguards, or would it be worth having him with the mounted, just normal riders, just ploughing through, charging, and maybe if the Huskarls mixed in with some of the warbands, just sort of mixing up and giving that little bit of a bolster with what they can do with their axes also becoming spears. It could help support the warbands maybe. It gives a bit more strength, a bit more, so I'm going to have to experiment with that. I haven't bought any yet, but I will be, for sure. It's payday tomorrow, so I'll be doing them then. And obviously, I have also got the brand new 3 hero characters to go with the Dunlendings themselves. I've washed these guys, these all washed. No, tell a lie, I've got to wash them, but I've prepped them. I've filed them down, got rid of those lines. Got them off their sprues and stuff, so all good to go. I've got a bend, is it breeder tall spear, half spear? I've got to rebend a spear because it's a bit on the her, it's a bit crooked. But apart from that, they're wicked sculpts. I'm actually going to paint the Wildman Oath Taker first, because it's just a wicked model. I won't bother trying to get the focus in, because there's no point, because it probably won't focus. But I'm sure you've all seen the unboxing videos. But he's an awesome model. They're all awesome models, but for me the Oath Taker is the best one. Not knocking it, I'm really not knocking it, I love these models, but I do find I'm trying to think what his name is, the half naked geezer with the 2 axes and breeder, I don't know, they're not quite, I don't find them, they're not quite in character for my liking, in the overall Lord of the Ringage sort of stuff. They just seem a little bit off. I love them, I love the models, I'm not knocking that, but I just feel, I don't know, maybe when I paint them up I might be do something, which not saying I can, but they don't quite sit with me how everything else does. It's just my interpretation of it, but I feel someone's really sort of gone out just to design something that looks cool, which is brilliant, but I don't know, it just doesn't quite fit with all the rest of the miniatures and the artwork and everything else to do with the films and stuff. It just seems a bit off to me, but that's just my opinion. Going away from that, because there's a complete random little, tangent there. So what I've done with the colour schemes for my Dunlendings, which I will be showing you in a minute, don't worry, you're probably getting sick of seeing my face, do apologise, just trying to sort of give you a bit of a recap, because I wanted to do this vlog a bit earlier on in the process. I'm sort of getting through it a bit, so I want to give you like a recap and just see where I'm at currently. The way I see it, Dunlendings are the Wildmen, and there's probably a lot of them. I know in the lore there's not a huge amount in the books. For those of you that read the books, obviously you know, and for those that maybe not too much, there's not a huge amount. They're referenced, spoiler alert, they're ultimately forgiven by the Rohirrim after the Battle of the Hornburg or Helm's Deep, that the Rohirrim quite honourably give them a chance to sort of redeem themselves and help. If they rebuild the castle, there'll be like a sort of a peace, a truce, and the Dunlendings will kind of be allowed to live within the Rohirrim world and just be left to sort of, you know, mix with them or just live, which is awesome. But I want them to be like that's like the main crux of the story as such. There's not a huge amount more, and in the Tolkien, when you look in the Tolkien's sort of the Wikipedia or any sort of real information, it's not a huge amount there. And talking for the great man himself, I feel if he had have had a chance and more time to been able to actually expand on the Dunlendings more, they would have been on a par with Vikings or real distant clans of Vikings, like the real embittered, you know, real really every day is a struggle for life type thing, because they're obviously in the mountains. They're described as being in the mountain men sort of thing. So for that reason, I've gone for more of a clan look for them. So each shield's going to have its own sort of motive. I'd have some shields that will look similar to make it look like they come from the same clan, but I'm going to give them more colours to their cloaks, more colours to their shields. Obviously, everything else, hairs, beards, you know, I'm going to give some to look like they're wearing more like gold, as well as brass and copper, and just different things to make them look like they come from different parts of these mountains spread throughout Rohan, where they're hiding from the Rohirrim and trying to make their own little lives still, and to give them a look of difference but being brought together obviously for the greater Dunlending good. And also that's from looking at actual real history and stuff. I mean, you look at history, you look at a lot of things and there's lots of browns, greys, blacks. That wasn't the case, and I'd like to think there was the same thing for the Dunlendings. Obviously, they're a much poorer version of what they once were before the Rohirrim turned up. But obviously, they still don't want to take pride in themselves. Like the Vikings, they often went to battle wearing that they wore bright colours. Bright colours were a fashion. To have lots of browns and stuff, it was actually quite hard to make drab colours. It was far easier, to an extent, to make colourful clothes. So that's what I've gone for. Rather than just lots of reds or blacks and browns like Vikings that are typically portrayed, I wanted them to look more vibrant, as they more than likely were. So with that in mind, this is what we have so far. So I'm just going to tilt this. This is with my pairs, so bear with me, guys. Let's see how we do. Or is the light? Nah, I don't think the light's going to work. So, well, let's start off with the main man himself. Apologies for the focus. This isn't. I'm going to do a much better showcase at some point soon. So here's Thryden. And what I've done is I've given him just a little white trim edge highlight to his cloak. You can see it there? Just there. And a little snazzy point of white just on either side of his cloak on the outers, like the outside of the cloak as well. I've given little highlights of I wanted it to be a bit of a brassy gold, like an off gold type shade on his lamella armour. You can see a line there and a line on the bottom there, just a nice little edge highlight. I've gone for some nice browns on the sort of his cloth, like his shirts. Don't know if I can get that to focus any better. I can't. Many apologies, guys. I will do a better video where you can see these miniatures, complete, you know, much better light and things. And then the base, lots of stone. I've used what's the sand? Can't think. It's a sharp sand because yes, a lot nice thicker sort of sand. I've used that. And I've gone for these awesome little tufts from World War Scenics, and it's given it that real. I want them to look like they come from a real, you know, tough land where the grass is really thick and like nasty and stuff, and it's real like brutal. I'm actually going to add some snow as well to these as well to give it that wintry look as well, because it's being in the mountains, going to be higher up and things. I want to give them that sort of real weather beaten look. I'm trying to think what the tufts are called from World War Scenics. What are these called? I can't think now. Like barren lands, moorlands, something like that type of grass. But it's given it a real nice little bit of character. And I've mixed in a couple of different shades of grass as well there. So that's Thryden, all's glory. Got the normal Thryden. Brilliant metal miniature. I really do like this model. This is a very nice mounted model. And quite casual, like his arm, which obviously I haven't attached yet. That was random. Haven't quite attached it yet, but there's his arm. But I like the way it's very much casually sort of just leaning on his shoulder like that. There we are, just very casual, like that a lot. So then we've got some of that. I won't show you all these guys. So all the bases are done on these guys. This is my first warband. So you got mounted. So we've got a nice red cloak. They're nice and vibrant, as best you can tell in this light. Got some nice grey trousers, bluey grey trousers there. I'll show you some of the shields. So that's these guys here. So you can see I've got some funky little shields going. I've got a nice little swerve. I've got a nice blue pattern, sort of a bit of a Celtic cross almost type pattern going on there. And then I've got this guy with a sort of nice swirl, curls of black and grey sort of coming around the red there. I've also painted the arm on these guys so that some of the armour's more sort of, I want to say a bit dirty, but not like a coppery sort of look, brass almost sort of look, and then the others are going for much more standard steel looking metals. So you've got a variance of sort of shades of metal now, a bit more sort of iron, there you go, that's the best example. Got a mixture of, you know, metals to represent the fact that they're not getting the best quality stuff anymore. Got another shield here, simple, just black and white sort of lines going across. Quite pleased with that, they come out nicely. Where's the last one? There he is. And then we've got a nice red and black there. Simple, just really nice. I actually got this one from the Vikings series. Funny enough, there was a shield, I noticed a little that, it was quite cool. So there's a red cloak again, a lot of red cloaks to be fair. Got a nice yellow cloak there. Nice fiery orange hair. Oh, let's hold it there, that's a bit better. So got nice orange hair going on at the back there. A nice yellow cloak, muted yellow. It's not bright yellow. It's not. Got a nice sort of pale bleached sort of magnolia shade tabard there, and it's got his blue trousers. Some colours are repeated throughout. What we got? We got a nice blue one, nice blue cloak here. Looking nice and good there. Nice sort of mixture of trouser colours as well. I've gone for some muted colours, but a lot of vibrant colours as well. Where's the other shades I'm trying to see now? What the colours are? And I've got a nice green one. This is the chieftain, or the sergeant, captain, whatever you want to call him. Here he is there. Looking awesome. Got a nice ginger beard. I've done nice gold highlights and brass highlights on the where are we? On the dag at the front there, and the beard decorations at the end of his beards and stuff there. Green on the back with his cloak. I wanted the green cloak to be a bit like this has been taken from a slain Rohan adversary. I wanted it to be more. There's a bit of a story to go along with it and things. That's what I was thinking. Sounds like my little one's not very happy upstairs having a bath, bless her. Or the fact she's actually had a bath finished. She loves a bath. And then for the rest of them, for the fur elements of their cloaks, so I'm sort of zooming in here, just having a little look myself. How many have I done? I'm trying to think now. Yeah, so greys and browns for the majority of it. And that's to sort of represent like bears sort of thing. And then greys, obviously more for like the wolf type cloaks or grey bears. You know, that sort of thing. Wargs even. So I should say wargs really rather than bears. But give it that. Again, they've all got nice little highlights on their beards. Where the jewellery is for their beards as well. I've painted it and things. Like I say, I will give a better video where you can actually see the quality of the paint jobs. Hopefully the quality. I call it quality, you might think it's rubbish, but I'm going to do a better video showcase that. This is more of just like a progress vlog type thing. And then, well, I'm sure you guys have probably seen a lot of videos of these, but these are the mounted Dunlending warriors. They'll catch the light a bit better for you. Undercoat with black. I was thinking of maybe doing blacks and whites, depends on the vibrancy of the colours, but I'm not going to do it, I'm just going to go black. Solid, that looks pretty cool. I can work with black nicely. Lovely detail on these minis. Really, really nice detail. Love them. So yeah, there's another little horse there. That's one of the mounted warrior horses. And then I'm trying a new style of painting. The Pinto horse, which is like whites and browns and sort of pattern sort of thing. Again, the story I want my horsemen is that these horses aren't necessarily reared by the Dunlendings. I'm not entirely sure if they'd be known for rearing horses, or if they do rear horses, not many of them. I imagine they probably could rear them, but not many. So I want a lot of these horses to look unusual to what the normal horses would look like in their native lands, in their culture. I would imagine their horses be a bit more thick set, a bit more like a Suffolk Punch or like a Shire horse, really. Whereas I want it to look like they've either bought or stolen, travelled maybe to do some battles to earn some sort of gold and stuff, and they've come back with a couple of horses as a reward. And I've gone for a Pinto style coloured horse. There is there. Again, sorry, I must get this a bit focus a bit better. There you go, there he is. Because I've worked on the whites. This was originally a really nicely painted white horse. And then what I've done is I've then gone over it again with Scrag Brown. Now I'm going to re-highlight that to make it all match up nicely. So there is the Pinto horse. I'm very pleased with how that's come out. I think the pattern's come out nicely. Looking forward to painting the detail on the armour on the front of his head, the eyes, the fur. It's a lovely, lovely horse, really nice. If they weren't so expensive, I'd even try to buy some of these horses just to use them on the Rohan Warriors mounted, just to give a bit of variety to the horses, because obviously we know the horses are a bit stagnant sort of thing, or a bit, there's only sort of two poses, so it'd be nice to mix it up a bit, we'll see. And that's it. Last thing I will say is I've got my banner bearer here. Here he is, looking at some nice shades of green. Again, I wanted him to look like he's sort of stolen some green clothing from a Rohan, a fellow, fallen Rohan warrior. And the banner's not done yet, because what I'm going to do with the banner, I'm hoping to work on some really cool freehand stuff. I'm going to have 3 banners, so I'm going to have 3 war bands of warriors. And each banner is going to have the wolf to tie with Thriden Wolfsbane, because that's the main focal point of the army. But rather than just having like a little black wolf, but like the white horse on the mountainside sort of thing, like we have in England here, I want to have a more detailed wolf's face. Now I'm going to have to practice that quite a bit, but I'd like to do a freehand wolf's face as something unusual, a bit different, a bit more detailed. Whether that fits in with how they, as a real people, would be able to sort of work, I don't know. I don't know if they could be able to pull off such intricate, fine weaving, who knows, but I want to try and do it just to give a bit more character, more oomph to the army. And the banner bearer pose and model is a very, very nice model. So I want him to have something real awesome and snazzy to sort of work with. And I most likely will be doing a very, very delicate pin on this dude as well, because I find that there's not a lot there to hold that on, and I could see that breaking quite easily. So I'm going to get a very, very, very fine pin just to go into the top of the banner, drill it all the way through, and then a very fine bit just to go through the skull where the banner is, just so it really holds it in place and gives it a nice snug fit. It probably will hold, but me being me, I like to make sure my minis are in absolutely tip-top, safe, condition. And that's that. A lot of chat, really, wasn't there? A lot of chat, not a huge amount of miniature goodness, but that's because of the lighting, my urgency to want to get this vlog, rocking. I'm hoping to post up vlogs reasonably regularly in regards to these, with better quality, lighting and things as well. Like I say, this is more of a chat. I wanted you guys to know where I'm at, where I'm going with this, and my sort of thought process behind it. I like to see other modelers and YouTubers talking about what they think, and I like to think that I sort of I talk about models and how I like to listen to them. So fellow modelers out there that like to sort of paint and listen to stuff whilst they're painting and things and enjoy the lore and stuff. Hopefully you guys appreciate me being a bit of a Lord of the Rings geek and wanting to sort of really delve into certain characteristics of armies and things I've mentioned in the past. And I really want to capture this with this army in particular. Talking about it makes you get more and more excited about doing this even more, actually, which is pretty cool. But yeah, payday tomorrow, Monday 27th. It's going to be good. Can't actually buy anything, can we, having said that, but I will do my very best to at least put the money aside ready to spend. My plan, but having said that, what am I going to go for? I think next up I'm going to go for one more set of horsemen and maybe get 2 sets of Huskarls. Maybe Huskarls. We'll see. Or maybe one of each. On a bit of a budget, we're having to save up for quite a few things in general. So I shall see. But I've still got plenty to keep me busy and plenty to keep this Dunlending vlog going for some time. Should be good. Oh, and on a side note, I'm very excited about this. I'm going to be buying a lot of wood and get some more styrofoam in the things, and I'm going to start work on custom 2x4 battlefields type thing. Battlefields we call it. 2x4, because generally 4x4 is more than enough for a Lord of the Rings game. So if I can have a 2x4 board themed around hills or something like that, and then have another board made more to do with a forest or like a castle ruins, Amon Hen maybe, Weathertop, all sorts. I want to make 2 or 3 or 4 different boards which will all link in nicely. They won't look odd. They won't have like a desert one next to a forest one. They'll all link in nicely, but so I can mix them up. I want to be able to host games where we can have some brilliant games on some real nice, loads of hills. Not modular. It's going to be built-in terrain. That's what really gets me going for from a geek's perspective. Is that awesome? I love modular terrain stuff. Don't get me wrong, but it always looks like stuff just plonked on the board, which is fine. I'm not knocking it, but I personally, if I'm going to make my own boards to keep and to use again and again and again, I want like the stuff you see on YouTube, like from Luke's APS. You've got the High Eye Workshop, brilliant stuff. He is probably the best I've ever seen. That High Eye Workshop, fantastic stuff. That's what I want to make, and I've got some good ideas for it. I want to make a Dunlending themed, sort of quite mountainous board. Loads of ideas. So that in itself could become another set of vlogs. Who knows? Anyway, I've talked for far too long. Thank you for watching as always. I hope you like what I've done so far. And like I say, I will have better videos coming out of the models, more just the models and stuff and the paints I've used, things like that. But thank you all so much for watching. I always appreciate it. I've had a load of subscribers recently. Well, I say a load, for me a load. About 3 or 4 more have come along. I think I'm at 138. I think I lost a couple. I noticed that my number dropped slightly and then it's come back up again, which is lovely. So I really do appreciate that, guys. Really, really do appreciate it. And just thank you, as always. It's lovely to know that geeks out there and fellow hobbyists like listening to another hobbyist's thoughts and process and whatnot. So thank you. Take it easy, guys, and I shall hopefully see you very soon with some more Dunlanding goodness. Take it easy. See you later. Bye-bye.